TEDP Training Part 3, the triage interview. After entering the pain score in TEDP, as discussed in Part 2, select Next to proceed forward to the triage question and answer session to evaluate additional symptoms and medical history data. As we look at the screen in TEDP, it appears as though it has many parts. Let's go ahead and discuss each section. The Q&A. Q&A means you are in the question session of triage, and this remains active during the entire triage interview. Library. Library contains educational content. The library is deactivated during Q&A. Remember, we are determining time to doctor, and triage takes precedence over educational information. Results. This is always available to you during the entire triage interview in the event that you need to early terminate the triage for some reason, change chief complaint, or abort the encounter. Advanced maneuvers will be discussed in a tutorial called Advanced Maneuvers. Demographics. Let's move on. Demographics is very limited within TEDP. Complete demographics is available in TRM+. Limited demographics include the chief complaint selected, the gender, and the age. Values. This contains any values and measures collected during triage, such as blood pressure and heart rate. Values include duration and pain score. As you can see that we had selected at the beginning, the duration was 3 days and the pain score was 5. Now let's move on to rationale. The rationale provides the reasoning behind the question that you are going to ask. Rationale will include such wording as screening for, looking for, checking for, determine severity, and etc. The questions, as you see, are presented in an ordered, logical flow of questioning to determine the severity of the condition. The most urgent presentations are found first, followed by decreasingly urgent medical conditions. It is important during the triage interview not to change the meaning or the context of the question. Answers will be recorded as a positive or a negative written in medical language for rapid review by the medical provider. So let's move on to the questions. Questions are answered with a yes or a no. But what about those unknown? What we like to do is push the caller for an answer, and if unable to do so, we select no. In some cases, however, if you have CPRS open, you may auto-answer the question if you know the past medical history by referring to the problem list in CPRS. Hints are also provided for you, the user, to help answer the question. And you can see in this case, we're asking the caller if they have severe throat pain, and a description of severe throat pain is considered a hint underneath the question set. So let's move on. As we progress through, we'll ask the question as they're written, answer it as a yes or a no. As you can see, when I first asked the first question and answered, a findings tab became available. The findings tab is available after the first question in triage. This is a reference point for you as well if in the event you need to change an answer. To change an answer, the back button is used to the question that you would like to change from a yes to a no or no to a yes. It is recommended to only change the previous 1 or 2 answers. So let's continue forward. We would go through the questions. We would ask the caller each question. We can't skip a question. We come to a question wanting to collect a data point or a biometric. So we would ask the caller if they've measured their temperature. A good rule of thumb is a vital and measure within the last 2 hours before calling you for triage. So I'm going to ask, have you measured your temperature? And they say yes. What we have next is somewhere to enter that temperature. When you get to the question, we have entered the statistically closest to normal vital sign into the program. This does not mean it is the caller's temperature. Let's say this caller has a 99.2 temp. All I do is highlight, use my keyboard, and enter 99.2. We're going to talk about values and measures in its own tutorial and what to do if they are out of range. So I go on to next and I continue through my questions. And as we get through the questions, we now return to the results screen. Reaching the results screen indicates that TEDP has collected sufficient data to determine a system concern and a recommended follow-up interval. Training Part 4 will provide an overview of the results screen.